What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the MedJSec channel. Welcome back if you've been here before. Today we have a detection engineering lab on SOC Labs. We are going to go through it, go through the challenge, and let's get straight into it. All right. All right, so we got a potential Linux backdoor user account creation. So in this section over here, we have the description. So I'll read this briefly, and then we'll look at the challenge objectives and all that. So right here, it talks about in Linux systems, UID, user identifier, is a unique number that identifies users with UID 0, typically representing the root user who has complete control over the system. By modifying an ordinary user's UID to 0, privilege escalation and system persistence can be established. This technique grants a user super user privileges and may be used to perform malicious operations. Attackers may change a user's UID to 0 to establish persistence on the system. So essentially, we're going to be making a Sigma rule that detects this type of activity. So they want us to identify operations in the system that use the user mod command to modify an ordinary user's UID to 0. And we have below here, we have sysmon sample data from logs here. So we can kind of see some of the event IDs. We see names. We can see computer user ID 0. We can see the command line, which is, going to be very important in this challenge. So let's get into it. So over here, I've already written up the rule. I'm going to go through the rule and explain it, and let's walk through it. So some of this is very kind of basic. We have the title here. I just used the title of the challenge. Description detects attempts to modify a user's UID to 0. Root privileges using the user mod command. So status, we have experimental. This is where you kind of want to start at when you're first making a rule. Experimental. In Sigma, they have, I believe, stable. They have obsolete or deprecated for something that's old. Stable is kind of like the last phase. Experimental is kind of the experimental phase where you're seeing about false positives and things like that. Author MedJSeg, which is I have a level of high because I do feel like this is kind of rare activity that would happen. You wouldn't really see too much. You could see this happening, maybe from an admin or something like that, but I feel like this would be very rare, this type of activity. So I put a high. This may be opinionated or depending on, um, where you're working at, but since it's just me, I'm gonna say high. All right, so then we have log source. All right, so we go to product and category. So we're essentially making a rule to look at process creation in Linux. So this is strictly for Linux and processes, and that's going on process creations in Linux. All right, so now we have the actual detection, which is the most important part. So in our selection here, which is going to be what we're trying to detect, what we're looking at, we're going to be looking at the command line. All right, and what is contained in the command line, and all meaning that we have multiple options. So this isn't a or situation where we would say, okay, I want you to look at user mod or dash u0. We want user mod and that dash u0. So we know that this is the command. We know that this is what turns u0 turns it into a modifying it to root, and we have the command line here. So we're going to be using these two in the command line. We want to see anything in the command line, and the condition is a selection, which we have here. So this is the entire detection right here. So for specifically for SOC Labs, in order to kind of pass the challenge, you kind of have to, you can go through a preview process or a submit process. So we can click preview here, see what comes up. All right, so we see that we have, one event ID, image, command line. So it is working, and we can submit it. All right, so I did do this a couple of times on the back end, but I wanted to make sure I could get it as best as possible so you guys could see. So we're going to submit it, and it's going to load, and we have a quote unquote perfect rule. So this is a challenge site, so this isn't necessarily indicative of like the rule being quote unquote perfect. I'm sure that there is some things that could be improved on it if this were to be a real system or real rules for a sim or something like that. The good thing about using Sigma is that you can convert it Maybe that's something that we'll get into the next videos or videos ahead. This was a fairly easy challenge. Like I said, I'm going to be going through all the challenges on this website. They have a lot of them, and then we'll continue to improve our detection engineering skills. And that's the end of my video. If you liked it, please like, please share, please subscribe, leave a comment. Whether you liked it or didn't like it, give me some feedback. I hope to see you soon. Peace.